What if I told you that a young man with no money or hope agreed to sleep with a 63-year-old woman, not for fun, but to save his mother from cancer? He thought it would be just one night, but what he didn't know is that this night would change his life forever. Adetayo lives in a quiet but respected neighborhood in Ikeja, Lagos. He was a young man of 27 with no job, no savings, and no real hope for the future. Life had been hard on him. His mother was very sick with cancer, and every week the hospital sent new bills that the family could not pay. His two younger sisters were still in secondary school, and he felt the full weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He was the only son, the head of the family after his father's death, but he had nothing to offer. Even though he had graduated from university 2 years earlier, he had never been able to find a stable job. To avoid complete hopelessness, he taught himself electrical work. He started taking small wiring jobs, fixing faults in people's houses, and running odd repairs here and there. The little money he made could only cover food and small household expenses. It was never enough for hospital bills. At night, he lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how long his mother could hold on. One morning his phone rang. A woman's voice asked for urgent electrical repairs at a house in Banana Island. Adetayo knew Banana Island well. It was where the rich and powerful lived, a place people like him only dreamed of. Without wasting time, he packed his tools and rushed there. When he arrived, the mansion took his breath away. The gate alone looked more expensive than his entire neighborhood. A security man led him in. Inside, he was met by a tall, elegant woman in her 60s. Her skin glowed, her hair was perfectly styled, and everything about her spoke of power and money. She introduced herself as Mrs. Mwinese Williams, one of the most connected women in Lagos. "Are you the electrician?" she asked, her sharp eyes studying him. "Yes, ma. I'll do a good job." "You can count on me," Adetayo replied nervously. He went to work, fixing the faults carefully, making sure every detail was neat. All the while, Mwinese stood nearby, watching him closely. When he was done, she transferred his payment, but when he checked, the money was far more than what they had agreed. "Excuse me, ma, you sent me more than expected," he said carefully. Mwinise's eyes widened. "You're the first person to ever tell me that. Every other worker just keeps quiet and takes the money." "That's not my style, ma." She smiled faintly. "Keep it. You've earned it." Adetayo packed his tools and prepared to leave, but as he reached the door, her voice stopped him. "Tayo, spend the night with me." The young man froze. He thought he had misheard. "Ma, you heard me. Just one night. I can give you anything you want, a house, a car, money. Just one night." His throat went dry. "I'm sorry, ma. I can't do that." "Why? Don't you want to save your mother?" she pressed. Her words struck him like a knife. He needed money desperately. His mother's life depended on it. Yet he shook his head firmly. "I can't. I'm not that kind of man." He walked away. That rejection cut Mwinese deeply. All her life, men had used her for her money. She had been married 3 times, and each husband betrayed her. One even stole millions from her on their wedding night. She had grown bitter, but this young man, poor, desperate, had the chance to use her, yet he refused. For the first time in years, she felt something stir inside her. That evening she called him. "Good evening, Adetayo. It's Mwinese." "Good evening, ma. I'd like to invite you to lunch tomorrow." "Sorry, I'm not available." "I can pay you. Just tell me how much you want." "It's not about money, ma." "Thank you." He ended the call quickly. His best friend Kunal overheard the conversation and almost exploded. "Are you mad? Your mother is dying in the hospital. A rich woman wants to help you, and you're forming holiness. Maybe this is God's blessing." Adetayo couldn't sleep that night. Kunal's words echoed in his mind. What if this was really the chance God was giving him? He thought of his mother lying weak in the hospital bed. By morning he gave in. He called Mwinese back and agreed to meet her. The next day, they met at an expensive restaurant. To his shock, Mwinese had booked the entire hall. No one else was there. "How old are you, Tayo?" she asked softly. 27, ma. "And you?" 63. "But I already know everything about you. I did my research. Do you want to know why I picked you?" He frowned. "Why me?" "Because you're honest. You returned money no one else would. You looked at me with respect, not lust. You reminded me of what it feels like to be valued." Her voice shook as she continued. "I've been betrayed, used, disgraced. I had money, fame, but no love. At my age, all I want is to feel love before I die." Tayo sat in silence, moved. Something inside him shifted. Slowly, he leaned forward and kissed her. "Is that a yes?" Mwinese whispered, her eyes wet with tears. He nodded. That night, Mwinese didn't sleep alone. In his arms, she felt warmth she thought she had lost forever. Soon they began to see each other often. First it was secret. Then they stopped hiding. Adetayo grew more confident. Mwinese pampered him, but he also gave back with loyalty and honesty. She paid his mother's bills, moved her to a better hospital, and cleared his sister's school fees. Through her contacts, he got bigger electrical contracts and started earning good money. But more than wealth, what joined them was love. They laughed together, shared stories, and found peace in each other's company. One night, Tayo looked at her and said boldly, "I want to marry you." She laughed, thinking it was a joke. But weeks later, on her birthday, in front of friends and powerful guests, Tayo knelt with a ring. "Mwinese, will you marry me?" The hall gasped. Whispers filled the air. She was old enough to be his mother. Surely this must be about money. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw only truth. Tears ran down her face as she said yes. When Tayo finally took Mwinese home to meet his family, his sisters were excited. They had been gossiping all week, imagining their brother's fiancée. "Our brother's woman must be so young and beautiful," the youngest said, giggling. But when the car stopped and Mwinese stepped out, dressed in a flowing gown with matching geli, their smiles disappeared. The silence was sharp. The youngest blurted, "Ha! Brother, who is this? Isn't this woman old enough to be mama?" Tayo stood firm. "This is the woman of my life." But the insults poured like rain. "She can't give you children. You're wasting your life. Are you blind?" Mwinise's face fell. She had come with open arms, ready to love them like her own children, but instead she was torn apart. With tears streaming down her cheeks, she turned and rushed back into her car. Later that night, she sent Tayo a message. "It's over. Thank you for everything. Goodbye." Tayo ran to her mansion immediately, banging the gate like a madman. "Mama Mwinese, don't do this to me," he shouted, his voice breaking. When she finally came out, her face was wet with tears. "You were ashamed of me," she whispered. "It's not true. I'm your man. I'll fight the whole world if I have to. I don't care what anyone says. I love you." Something inside her broke. She ran into his arms, and they kissed desperately, like two people refusing to be torn apart. That night they made love, not as a rich woman and a poor boy, but as two souls clinging to each other against the storm of the world. But the storm was not over. A few weeks later, Mwinise's only daughter, a bike, returned from London. She was 23, beautiful and full of pride. When she heard her mother was planning to marry Tayo, she screamed, "Mummy, marry who? This small boy." And when she saw him face to face, she froze. Tayo was her age, tall, strong, and strikingly handsome. Something dangerous sparked in her eyes. First it started like a joke. "You're too fine to be my stepdad," she teased, brushing against him whenever her mother wasn't watching. But Tayo warned her, "Stop it. Don't play this game." She didn't stop. She wore short dresses around the house, sat too close to him, whispered things no daughter should say to her mother's man. One night she set her trap. Pretending to slip in the bathroom, she called out weakly. When Tayo rushed in, she was wrapped in only a towel. Before he could react, she pressed her lips against his. Tayo shoved her off immediately. "What is wrong with you?" But she screamed at the top of her lungs. "Mummy! He tried to touch me." Mwinese ran in and found her daughter half-naked, crying. Her heart broke. She turned to Tayo with anger. "Get out of my house," she shouted. "Please, she's lying. She has been tempting me for weeks," he begged. But Mwinese wouldn't listen. With her heart bleeding, she ordered him out. Days later, guilt haunted Mwinese. Something in her heart told her Tayo wasn't lying. She asked the guards for CCTV footage. When she sat down to watch, her hands shook. Everything played before her eyes. A bike's seductive movements, her short dresses, her kisses, the towel incident. The truth hit her like thunder. She confronted her daughter. "Why a bike? Why would you do this?" Through sobs, a bike admitted. "I was jealous. You took him from me. I didn't want to lose you, Mama." Mwinise's knees weakened. With fury she screamed, "Get out of my house. You are no longer my daughter." Her heart heavy with regret, Mwinese rushed to find Tayo. But by the time she arrived at his small apartment, he was gone. His neighbors told her he had gone to the airport, ready to leave Nigeria. She drove like a madwoman to Murtala Muhammad Airport. Inside, she saw him about to board. Her ghillie slipped off, her wrapper loosened, but she didn't care. She ran through the crowd, shouting, "Tayo, please don't leave me." He turned, his eyes wide. She fell to her knees right there in front of strangers. "I saw the truth. Believe you. Forgive me. Please marry me." Tayo's eyes filled with tears. He shook his head. "You should never have doubted me." She pressed a small box into his hand, a ring. But instead Tayo knelt too. "No, I should be the one asking. Will you marry me?" The airport erupted with applause as she said yes, tears streaming down both their faces. Weeks later, they married in a quiet Yoruba traditional ceremony. No big crowd, no noise, just those who truly supported them. Tayo's sisters later came, begging for forgiveness, ashamed of the way they had insulted Mwinese. His mother, weak but smiling, gave her blessing with tears in her eyes. For the first time in years, Mwinese felt peace. She finally had love. But destiny was not finished. Months later, Mwinese began to feel weak. Everyone feared the worst. But after several tests, the doctors called her into the room with wide eyes. "Madam, you are pregnant. With triplets." At 63 years old. Shock, fear, joy, and disbelief filled the air. Neighbors gossiped. Some said witchcraft, others called it a miracle. But the scans did not lie. 9 months later, she gave birth to 2 boys and 1 girl, Iamide, Kaninsala, and Fionfolua. As she held the babies in her trembling arms, she looked at Tayo, who was weeping with joy. "Now no one can say we don't have a future," she whispered. He kissed her forehead gently. "You are my miracle. They are our light." And in that moment the world finally understood. Love knows no age. Love knows no boundaries. So tell me, do you think Mwinese deserved to become a mother again at 63? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you believe that true love can conquer anything, drop a red heart below.